Good morning, everyone. This is the July 8th, 2026 Philadelphia Art Commission meeting. My name is Catherine Liss, Director of the Philadelphia Art Commission. Please note the August meeting of the Art Commission has been canceled. After today, the next meeting of the Art Commission will be held on Wednesday, September 9th. This meeting is being recorded. By attending the meeting, you are giving consent to be recorded. The agenda and meeting materials can be found on the public meetings page of the Philadelphia Art Commission website. You may use the QR code on the screen to access the web page. A link to the meeting recording will also be posted to the website once available. The agenda for today's meeting is listed for reference on this slide. We have 2 items for administrative review, 1 item for final review, and 1 item for concept review. Please note you are currently in room 18029. There are 2 doors along the side wall to your left. These doors lead to the elevator lobby. Restrooms are in the lobby across from the elevators. In the event of an emergency, loudspeaker announcements will provide safety information. If you do not hear an announcement, please follow the directions of security officers and staff.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Raed Nasser. I just want to make sure, wish everybody happy 250. This has been my 10th year on the Art Commission. I'm very proud of serving the city, serving this commission. It's been a great experience. So we have meeting format. The next few slides will take us through the sequence of today's meeting. Full review items will start with an applicant presentation. The commissioner's discussion will follow the applicant's presentation. Public comments will follow the commission's discussion. We will hear from commentators in the room first, followed by those participants virtually. The commissioners will both follow public comments and discussions. Ground rules. Members of the public, you will have the opportunity to comment on agenda items. Questions and comments will be heard for each presentation. You might participate either in person, online, or by phone. If you have any difficulties participating, staff are available to assist you. Please be respectful of others and limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Commissioners, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to call on you one at a time. Please introduce yourself. Please remember to speak directly into your microphone. Commissioner Marney.
Hello, present.
Commissioner Matthew.
Morning, present.
Morning. Commissioner Troy.
Good morning, present.
Commissioner Roy.
Good morning.
Okay. Commissioner Rebecca.
Good morning, present.
Commissioner Carmen.
Good morning, present.
And Commissioner Rayed.
Good morning, present.
The Art Commission will be voting by roll call. I will ask commissioners for their vote verbally and individually at the end of each agenda item. Please remember to state your name before making comments so that people who are not here in person can tell who is speaking. I will now pass the microphone to Commission Chair Rayed to call the meeting to order.
We now call the meetings to order and announce a quorum. We will proceed with the matter on the agenda. So we're going to vote on the report of the Sign and Street Committee recommendations. Did you look at it? Does anybody has any questions, concerns? Anyone from the public? So this is going to be a consensus vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it.
Okay, first up on our administrative agenda is the 9 additional stations for the Indigo Ike Smart City kiosks, bicycle transit systems, contracted by the City of Philadelphia's Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems, is seeking administrative approval to deploy IKE Smart City kiosks at 9 locations. The Art Commission provided final approval for the deployment of these kiosks on Indigo bike share stations with the understanding that the locations be reviewed administratively. There are 9 stations proposed in this submission. We are recommending that one of the locations at 22nd and Cecil B. Moore be disapproved at this time. The new location is across the street from the existing and is significantly less desirable. And for the remaining 8 stations submitted for approval, we would recommend those for approval. The location recommended for disapproval can be resubmitted with revisions.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Yes, I have a question about the the station in Kelly and Calumet. That, based on the picture, yeah, that image, as you can see, there's a bike stands, and then there's a bike station. And I'm just wondering if, two bikes touching each other kind of is going to limit the access to walkers, to people walking by. How narrow is going to be the path when there's bikes on both sides of that sidewalk?
These locations will additionally be reviewed by streets as well. So for complete street standards, as well as other issues, particularly access and utilities. So
Can maybe a note be, posted so that they look at it in more detail, so it doesn't get, bypassed by,
yes, we can add that note.
Okay, thanks.
I think if you look at the plan, there's a dimension between the edge of the grass, which I would imagine is well beyond the bikes. And there's the bike stand, looks like 6 feet 5 inches.
But the wheels, the back wheels, you see, there will be the sidewalk. I mean, she has a good point because it will be, just have somebody on the wheelchair going by, the other person have to wait because 2 back wheels will be. Next one. State your name, please. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Nate Bowman Johnson with Bicycle Transit Systems. So it's a very good point and very good question. We will be going through a review process with Streets Department, the right-of-way unit. So we have to meet all the criteria for right-of-way access, ADA compliance, and one of the factors will be the distance between, the back wheel of the bikes in the bike share station and the back wheels that would be in the regular bike corral. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so we will like to get the information after you review it to see if that meets the street department. So I want to make sure, how can we get the feedback of that meeting? So I want to make sure.
So yeah, our process is, in order for us to submit sites into right-of-way review and permitting through Streets Department, we first have to go through our commission and receive that approval. So the sites will be fully vetted by Office of Complete Streets and the right-of-way unit. And they won't be approved if there are, conflicts around ADA right-of-way.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't have any problems with approving it, just as long as, as somebody's gonna look at, the question and make an appropriate assessment of it.
Thank you. I do have a question. Could you give us a report next time? I don't want to hold this up. How are you intervening with the community? Because I did submit announcements of all our summers event 2 months ago. I haven't received one single response. So to me, I don't know how I tell people, email this if you want to promote your community events, and even I haven't received it. So will you mind providing that to us? Who have you reached, which community? Because I gave this to our network neighborhood, and now I feel bad in giving this, and I haven't got a response. And they haven't got a response. And that's one of our features that we approved this because it was gonna be helpful for all the community organizations.
Yeah, we can definitely provide that. And I did hear about your submission. I think we've changed the process and how content gets submitted, so I'll make sure that you get that. We have a new form that community members can fill out. Yeah, I believe the information is in the submission package.
The criteria and the process is listed, yes.
Okay, it's okay. Right here. Okay. Okay, right here. All right. Thank you. So,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is this the appropriate place to talk about these criteria? I'm just reading it and it's like requiring a community content to be endorsed by city department and to carry that department's logo. And I'm looking back at the examples, not exactly sure what all these are coming from. I mean, some of them are cities like residents associations, which typically do collaborate with the city, but I mean, like a small business has to get the endorsement of a city department or something. I don't know. It just feels onerous, to say the least, to ask people to get a department's endorsement before going on to an Ike station. Just curious who the right people would be to shine some light on why these standards exist.
thank you. No, this is the first time I read. I don't know why I skipped it.
Yeah, we've never been given this before.
Yeah,
Yeah, and further approved by the city. I mean, it's just kind of like how,
yeah.
just as somebody that does event, it makes, I know we've done this in the past where we have a chart like of the process and what it looks like, who talks to who at what stage. Excuse me. If this is the process, I guess I would recommend that there be some sort of guidance to people trying to submit content onto here about around how long they might estimate this process would take, so they can at least plan for that before they decide to submit something onto these. Because the way it was described to us in the past, I feel like a broken record a little bit because we've been raising this on nearly every other time we get these requests to approve these new stations, but it's just important to be transparent. And I think the way that it's being described to us now is the clearest I've seen it. But I think it could go a little further just by managing people's expectations about how long would it take, who do you reach out to? I mean, this person here's information is from OBM. It looks like Ike's partner content manager. But clearly there's a set of other people that it's ricocheting through as well. So I think we need to manage people's expectations a lot better with this.
I mean, I agree. I think it would be helpful to know how long it's going to take, because if it has to go to city's ad policy, and then it has to go to the city again to be submitted via Ike's advertising, and then the content has to be approved by the city, it's going to take months.
Yeah, if I may suggest, maybe if somebody from the city can be copied on that form, you know what I mean? That way they can, hey, look at it, because they are registered with the department, actually with the planning, urban planning, all the registered organization. And the Friends of the Park are registered with Parks and Recs. So either you can put both people on that form, that way they get it and they will, if they have an objection, they will say, hey, this is not, because it's gonna be a lot of work. And plus, the timing is very important because right now we're in the middle of the summer and we haven't able to advertise it. We do have our social media, but this will help us a lot.
I think I'm coming into this review of all of these in midway, so I don't know if this has been discussed, but related to the city contact, has anyone at the city been designated as a person that can approve these? Has the city said, yes, we'll do that?
Nope.
Okay, so I feel like,
It was just
That-
email us with the format and we'll tell you what the format is. If there needs a higher resolution, lower resolution, that was the only thing. Guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can speak to the process. And I will say the process has been clarified since we started installing these and started receiving content. So basically, any content on the Ikes has to be approved by the city because it's in the public right of way. And there is a designated team that reviews content, does it very quickly, very fast turnaround. The issue with community content is around it needing a city department endorsement. That's the issue that came up. We weren't aware that that was a requirement at the outset when we started installing these, but as we started getting submissions, content submissions, that, came into light and was clarified. There's probably, I'm not the best person to speak to why that is, or, why that requirement is in place. That's probably a Otis, leadership conversation. But those are kind of the constraints that we're under. In terms of and I agree, being transparent about that, we can do a better job of that, being transparent about what the process is, what the limitations are. In terms of the time that it takes to get content up on the screen, if it does meet the criteria, it happens very, very quickly, like, sometimes within a matter of, the same day. So it can happen very quickly.
Yeah, I appreciate that clarification. And yeah, unlike a basic sort of like tack board, like I work on a college campus, you see that all the time. People just plaster it with whatever. It's no man's land in a lot of ways. This is a very different platform. And so I understand the need for controlling that as well. But yeah, for us, we haven't been able to get that transparency. So like the chair said, we can only imagine how other people are feeling about that. And yeah, this is the most clarity I've seen so far. And knowing this ahead of time, even just for us to make the decision to approve or not approve these, knowing that it has to have a city endorsement, it does shrink the range of who the community is that actually qualifies to be able to promote their work or their, events on this platform. So I just want to thank you for clarifying that, but also I'm recalibrating how I'm seeing these stations a little bit more.
Yeah, let's make it a little easier, more friendly for the community, because this is, to me right now, it's a little bit an obstacle. We have to, if we can have all those details, that way we can deliver it to them again. And that way they don't have to wait, we're waiting for this person, we're waiting for, who are the people who needs to approve this?
I'm sorry, last thing. So just because it has to be endorsed by a city department and carry that department's logo, I don't know, part of me is just like, is it just a default advertising mechanism for city events? Or like, yeah, I'm a little.
Yeah, there are city events because first of all, we are a registered organization, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Friends of the Park are a registered organization. All the movie, all the jazz, all the series that they have to go through the Friends Network. They submitted that ahead of time. I think the deadline is early April. So they say, and they put it on their social media. So
filtration system already.
yeah, I guess now that we're speaking, maybe if it's on the social media of the Parks and Recs, I think right there is like an approval method. When it's the neighborhood, oh, we're having a meeting and this month we have an election, or we have a, oh, yeah. So something like that. That could copy somebody from the urban plan and commission, the department also. I'm just trying to make it easy for everybody because they're already having a hard time trying to get all these permits for their events, and there's another obstacle. Anybody else? So if you can give us a little more for next time. I know it's already halfway the summer, but yeah. Yeah, if we can do that. Anybody else? All right, so I don't want to hold this up. So this is going to be a consensus vote. All in favor, say aye. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so it's consensus with the one station that was recommended for disapproval on 22nd and Cecil B. Moore. Is that okay?
Correct, thank you.
Um,
It's not on our recommended for approval.
yeah, I'm going back to it, sorry. Staff doesn't recommend that. I mean, I don't know why, but
No, but it's not on this list.
it's on the image.
On the
yeah, that
image, but
one,
on,
yeah.
we recommend others 8, okay.
So it basically, if we were to make a motion for approval without, or for all stations minus 22nd and Cecil B. Moore pending further review, okay.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, yes, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. So our next item for administrative review are HVAC upgrades and exterior improvements to the John C. Anderson Cultural Center. Philadelphia Parks and Recreation with SMP Architects is requesting administrative approval of renovations to the John C. Anderson Cultural Center located at 5301 Overbrook Avenue. The project includes replacement in kind of select windows at the exterior and a new rooftop HVAC unit to replace the existing. At the interior, there are ductwork renovations associated with the new HVAC unit, as well as ADA improvements to the existing restroom and new lighting and finishes associated with the scope of those renovations. The scope will have a minimal visual impact to the existing building. The construction budget for the project is approximately $3 million. Creative Philadelphia has determined that the project will not trigger a % for art obligation as the scope is largely HVAC and maintenance oriented.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing a repair on at least the bathrooms. I did not know I've been in this place before. So go ahead.
Yeah, just a clarifying question for legal around that? I mean, I agree. I'd want to sort of approve regular maintenance things, but is that part of like the legal sort of, or city charter, I guess, that if it's over $1 million, that's not maintenance oriented, that it does, maybe I didn't phrase this question right. Is there a distinction in the law about how much money is for what type of improvement before it triggers % for art, or is it just any?
Yeah, it's specified costs.
Okay.
What are you asking?
Well,
for?
because they said it's $3 million for this project, but Creative Philadelphia determined that it doesn't qualify for percent for R because it's mostly maintenance oriented. So I'm trying to see like, is that the way the law?
Probably the evaluation that they did,
Okay.
yeah.
Good point. Yeah, usually it's, but
Yeah, I feel like I've seen,
yeah,
I've seen
no,
other
but-
maintenance oriented projects before, but
Yeah, how's everybody feel about
It's
that?
interior versus exterior?
Yeah,
it's
the,
interior, exterior.
Or-
the team did
toilets
reach
versus-
out to Creative Philadelphia in order to determine that. They didn't, because they wanted to ensure they were meeting the obligation if required. But due to the combination of the budget and the scope, Creative Philadelphia did determine that it was not required. So,
Yeah, but we have seen on rebuild, we have seen rec centers being remodeled completely, even their air conditioner and everything, their bathrooms. And they have come up with the 1% of art.
Like the Carousel House?
That's the latest one, but
Yeah.
we have tons.
But
before.
that didn't come as an administrative only, that came as a rebuild project.
Yeah, it was a project. Okay, that's correct. It was a project, but that's a large one. Oof.
I mean, I don't, I tend to agree. I mean, there's no real changes to basically to the outside at all. It's mostly all internal repairs, which obviously are very much needed.
Mhm.
And because it involves, HVAC systems and so on and so forth, it's an expensive repair.
Mhm.
Maybe
don't have any
repairs versus
problems with it.
upgrades. It might be
Maybe.
interesting to find out what their lines are.
Mm.
Like if you had a flood and you're repairing, like these tiles are missing or just for danger.
So I guess they're not redesign the culture center. They're just doing completely repair. Okay, that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody? Public comments? All right. So this is also a consensus vote.
we do have one raised hand. Marguerite, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, I had my hand raised, but it sounds like you had answered the question that was being raised. This is Marguerite Anglin, Public Art Director with Creative Philadelphia. And I did want to clarify that for any project, there is in the guidelines, it does clearly spell out what is an eligible project. And when the team came and we discussed, this did not meet those eligibility criteria because this project is largely repair-based in terms of infrastructure driving the project, HVAC, basement, waterproofing, roofing, and things of that nature, the windows being replaced. And also it appeared as though any of those interior finishes were being replaced to accommodate the repairs only. And similar to, as you were mentioning, like a Carousel House or another project, if those things were happening as part of a larger renovation, as we've seen with many of the other projects that the city is doing, that would definitely be an eligible project. So just wanted to clear up any clarification that we do use both scope and budget to determine eligibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So consensus vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, have it. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have the Avenue of the Arts Median Project. The proposed sculptures.
Good morning. My name is Desiree Jones. I'm the Executive Director of Avenue of the Arts, and I want to introduce our Ave Arts 2.0 project. We've already have an existent, we had a successful ribbon cutting on June the 24th, where the medium is in place, and I welcome everyone to go down and take a walk and look at it. And now we're looking into our next phase with Miguel. And then installment of the actual art piece to bring the art to the avenue. Miguel is going to go into details on what that looks like for our final decisions.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all again. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Desiree. Also joined by our team members, Carl Dranoff, Chairman of the Board, Avenue of the Arts 2.0, Tom Miles, who is part of the Arts Committee, Selection Committee that I've been working with to develop this project. So I'm really happy to come back with some physical samples, but also some more additional samples that we produced to kind of clarify the vision of the sculpture and what it looks like. So I'm going to skip through some of these other slides. We do have some updated close-ups that I think are really helpful for us to see. As context, you've seen some of these images. I think it's really great that we have the median to actually see now. That was actually really helpful for us in developing a model, a mock-up, to be there and kind of stand in the space, but also to see the sight lines and be at eye level, both as a pedestrian and as a vehicle, crossing the space. So as you remember, we're looking at these kind of abstracted scan data images that were processed into sculptural forms. Kind of a stretch for the imagination. I appreciate why we needed to see some physical samples. So this is kind of that critical focal point, which I think we were all kind of curious about, and how that would be seen. As best as I could describe it with words, again, I feel like they were kind of falling up short. So I'm going to start with this material sample that I have of the actual RAL 1028 powder coat. I'm going to pass this chip around. This is the mango color. This is the actual powder colored surface. That's just a 16th-inch piece of plate. Multiply that times 3, you'll get the 3/16. It's the same thickness size that I've been bringing. Oh, is that not working? Oh, I'm not gonna, I should not be perambulating too much here. We had these kind of larger views of the context. OJB created a couple more close-up views that we could see of this kind of straight on, but also like as if you were standing on the pedestrian spots. I've also updated where a little legend in the corner where you can see where each one of these images are taken from. Now, these are really beautiful images, but the greenery is a lot less dense at the moment than what we're seeing right now. And I thought that was really helpful for me to take these photographs of the actual space. I also went down there with with Rebecca Siegel afterwards. We walked down to the site just to kind of see it, and I just kind of stood in place. And I saw a couple photographs of what that looked like standing in place, and I thought, well, that's really convincing. Just me as a person standing, pretending to walk across. So I thought it'd be really relevant to make a 1-to-1 scale mock-up, which I don't have with me today. It's kind of crude construction, but the images of it, I think, really do justice to this vision. This is a about 5'9", 5'10" person that is part of the final scan data. Is translated into the cross section slices of as it will be a 3/16" step. This is made out of a plywood material, so it is finished with about as close of a spray paint that we could match to get the effect of the kind of coated form. And so I have a couple of different views of this where you can see it as you are moving around the form, looking at it from the anterior, from the posterior, from these kind of weird 3/4 images where they start to break down. And And I thought some of these stills are really great to be able to see how the form changes as you move around it. You know, this is from the north end driving south at about a vehicle height. There were some questions about visibility. You can see where your eye level is just about the knee shin of the figure as we're moving past it. From the second lane, from the outside lane, how that kind of interacts with the median space. And this is a video. One of the mentions was to create a pan, an active pan that we could see as you move around this. And so I will just play these.
I see. Oh, there we go.
So you can see as you approach that focal point, if I can pause right there, there's a moment where that sculpture becomes quite literal. And I think that that small focal point changes incredibly well depending on if you're a pedestrian walking slowly, matching the gait of that movement versus if you're a vehicle moving quickly across it. So the speed with which you're passing the sculpture dictates the amount of clarity that you have for the time. As we pass back, you can see it kind of devolves into this segmented topographical construction where it breaks down. As well, the form itself breaks down because you're moving out of that sense of, or that focal range.
Can I ask a clarifying question about this?
Yes.
To do this video, how did you do this video? Were you walking?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a slower pan than if you were, maybe you're driving at a very slow, clip. But it was a moment where there's nobody on the traffic, so I just kind of ran across. And then I have a second pan as well. So if we look from the opposite side, and I just kind of rotated this so we could get the effect of seeing the kind of the interior of the sculpture, or the back side of it, how you still get the sense of that silhouette as you're seeing what would be the negative shape, but it's just the opposite of the focal range, just within shadow. There was a question about a detail of the, I'm going backwards here. The detail of the stepping. I wanted to include the side and the front of the topography so you could see how light interacts differently depending on that orientation of the topography. Again, that silhouette effect of it kind of disappearing but having an effect on the other side. And then I matched it up with some of the images, the actual physical model with the scale kind of comparison of how that would look. And while, it seems maybe quite large in some images or small in some images, I actually think that it fits quite nicely in the scale of this median comparatively. And you could see that that physical sample kind of matched inside there. Again, these all fit within the sight lines, the geometry. I did want to jump forward to our detail. Somebody asked about a detail of the connection. So what we have is essentially a couple inches, depending on which pedestal we're looking at, that the sculpture floats above the pedestal which is installed. So these L brackets, these angle irons, will kind of go up into the sculpture and become welded into those 1/4 inch plates. So kind of braced in between it. Mechanically, we can include some hardware, but we're going to be welding everything up. And there will be the breakaway hardware which attaches to the top of the pedestal. And I believe those are all of the updates. I just wanted to share these samples with you because I think that this is really fun. Now, you'll have to pass this around in a minute. But if each one of you can have a time with this. Now, these are just small, very small samples, right? But there is one moment where as you're passing by it, you get this little silhouette effect, the shadow of the outline of that person. And depending on where you're standing, you get, these are actually two people walking in different directions. So the effect of that changes with each one. So this is the longer 25-foot construction. You can kind of see, I tried to use the plywood as an indicator of the stepping and the topography to see how those forms would move. This is the smaller composition that has kind of this long tail. But you can see this one, unfortunately, the feet kind of broke off because they were so small. It's tough when you're machining little sections like this, but I think they're pretty fun. And yeah, a challenge to put together, but I thought it was a nice one for you. Okay, I'll pass it over to you guys.
I guess you made a video before they tag it with a graffiti. Yeah, there's already a graffiti there.
You know what's funny is I went
I drove by, yeah, on Sunday. I'm like, oh, come on, give us a break, a month, give us 1 month.
I'm pleased to report that the graffiti has been removed already.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that was good. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
For- I live
thank-
across the street, no graffiti. Goes on,
Thank
goes
you,
off.
Mr. Dranoff. Appreciate that.
Goof off. Carefully rubbed
Perfect.
on. and then it
That,
goes
I
away.
was gonna say, can we, that way they don't think, I said, oh, you're allowed to put this in here. No, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Dranoff. Appreciate that. Awesome. So we will have the same maintenance reaction if somebody tried to tag this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna, put a tent up there, just kind of hang out for the first couple months, just, make sure nobody, I will say this. I went to install this mock-up for the photographs, this singular image. I got it out of the car, my little CRV. I parked it in the median. I walked up and I had two assistants with me. I placed it. We moved one of the planters out. I placed it in and it wasn't even 10 seconds. It was immediate.
Oh, my mates.
The woman pushing a stroller on the sidewalk reached out. She said, "That looks nice." I was like, "All right, thank you. We got one approval over there." So, it was pretty immediate how people saw the interaction. They had no idea what that was, right? They're just all, I like that, whatever that is.
Piece of art. So will this be able to, for graffiti purposes, will be able to be cleaned up? And
Yeah.
not damage the,
Peacock Industries is a local company. They actually have an anti-graffiti coating for one of their lacquer finishes. And we would apply that.
because I'm asking because you see how your structure is with wave?
Mhm.
If the graffiti is very intense, how will you be able to?
I think our conservation plan would probably, connect us with one of the local outfits. I work closely with a couple conservators, but that could give us a maintenance plan of how to approach, the cleaning of that. But I imagine with the anti-graffiti coating, we're looking at just as goof off, takes off the paint. It would just mean what kind of soft bristle brushes we're using, and, to do a sample test clean.
Any comments?
Oh, just a quick question. I'm looking at south and looking west, so UArts is behind.
Yes.
And I don't, this will sound like I'm picking apart your maquettes, your models, but I was just curious. So like the people, so if I'm holding up one of these that you brought today,
Yeah.
aren't they more relief? Or is there more relief?
So this is just the long
okay.
stretches. And the reason why I made these as an example of what the kind of really abstract shape
Shape,
looks
yeah.
like. And then the physical 5-foot model, I didn't bring that in because that was too
Okay,
much,
so
but
that would be sort of attached.
they connect
to-
to those, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of extruded out, sections that you know, also have the same tie down the base. So each one has two kind of static singular forms that are connected to it.
Okay, so yeah, I just wondered if I had misinterpreted it to begin
Or
with.
what this,
but
yeah.
we're good.
got it.
Hi, Miguel.
How you doing?
I think the concept is great. And the way you explain it, I see it in my mind and I can imagine moving around sculpture and it constantly changing, going from sort of a flat surface to a more three-dimensional surface. And I just want to point out that the way that it appears in one of your slides, the concept imagery slide, I start to see it. The segmented quality of the model really becomes very clear. Unfortunately, I don't see it in your models. They're saying something completely different than what I think you intend for the experience to be. Is that something that you're aware of, and can you sort of clarify if I'm misinterpreting what?
Yeah, so these small scale models, you know, to do a full mock-up, I thought was a very large endeavor that I wasn't sure would be viable. So that's why I opted to create one singular mock-up, which I found to be quite effective of the stepping, you know, effect. Unfortunately, this scale makes it quite impossible to create the laminated construction without, again, being a monstrous endeavor, which is why I opted to create the form, the general form of this at the small scale, and the stepped topography of the large scale to get the effect of that. And I, you know, if I could, this is a technique that I've been doing with sculptures for many years. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the other work. I could bring up I could quickly bring up some, you know, comparable artworks in this effect. I don't know if I can deviate from this to satisfy the. No, don't. Okay. So can I show you a slide on my phone? It's not something I could bring up here, but or I could cast it.
So just while you're doing that, just if I can clarify your question, are you asking if these striations that are occurring in his slide can actually translate into physical form?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just pointing out the difference between the slide and the model.
Yeah.
It's showing two different.
Well, if this is made of plywood, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the sample that we made, they were both made out of plywood. This is a 3/16 plywood, so it's the exact dimension and step. And I can go back to one of the details, but.
Yeah, I guess part of why I'm bringing this up is that one, I have seen other works from him and I know it translates. But the other thing is that just touching this model, because it's made of plywood, it's brittle, it's not internally solid or consistent. So to do that it just would look like a mached mess, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, can I just show you some images of my past work? This is a sculpture that's down by Reading Terminal Market. This is a all aluminum plate, 1/2-inch aluminum plate. And sorry, this is a 1/2-inch aluminum plate construction. This is a public art percent for art work. And it's not letting me zoom in. And so that's 1/2-inch plate. So we're going to get a little bit higher resolution. And this is a 1/2-inch acrylic. And I'm sorry, I should have just included some of these as Yeah. So the effect of that construction method is quite effective for recreation of three-dimensional form. But there is always this element of when you kind of rotate to the frontal plane of those cross sections where it's very flat and breaks down, where you're slicing the topography in the kind of I'm slicing the topography in the same focal point of where the scanner was. So the highest resolution is aligns with that singular perspective. So it kind of accentuates the form falling apart as you kind of go to those perimeter views. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And again, thank you for showing me the examples. And I just want to clarify, I wasn't criticizing the your idea. I was just pointing out that I wasn't quite clear what we were trying to see in the model versus what you were showing and talking about. I think what you're displaying in the slides, especially the movement around the image, it demonstrates very well what you're talking about, and it's very effective.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I'm going to use those same files. That's the piece. That's that one singular piece. I would have cut it out of laser cut it out of metal, but you know, it was this weighed a lot less. So for the mock-up, I felt that was the best approach. If we want to look at that pan again, you can see right here the sleeve of this guy's jacket. He's wearing this puffer jacket, and the wrinkles and the folds and the articulation at his elbow. And as we keep moving around, you can almost even catch the, you know, the forms of his eye and nose and face there before it starts to kind of break down. And at what's really interesting about this is because it's a digital reinterpretation of a form. When you take pictures of it, it looks really good. Like something about translating it again through the pixelation of your camera. It looks even better. And that's something your eye can capture, and it sees, it reads, it kind of makes all of that pixelation go away when you're looking at it. And then the further away you get, the more realistic it looks. And that's something that is true of these other sculptures, precedent pieces that I was referring to.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
I think this would be very popular because I'm seeing human images in front of me. Do you think people are going to want to go take pictures next to the human forms? I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But if they do, how do we keep them away? And I mean, hopefully the street would be enough, but you know, people you could actually access the, you know, kind of the ramp area, maybe approaching, but there'd have some prohibitive.
I think it will be very popular. I think that it's going to be one of those things that might take a second for people to understand what they're seeing and then kind of see it from afar. And I think they're going to cross the street, you know, at the crosswalk and kind of be like, what the hell is that? Until they, you know, kind of get to it. But the turning lane crosses in front of the median, right? So at each end, you have a left turning lane that isolates the median from pedestrian access from a good, I don't know, 60 feet before you're even at the nose of the median. So there are these kind of vehicular barriers and just road barriers, right, that pedestrians know not to cross. Now I can't say that nobody's going to go over there. I mean, the skateboarders hit it up immediately, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I was walking on that median to install this, and it's not like an easy and inviting thing to get to.
Well, trust me, I think Mr. Dranov will take care of that. Maybe put a fence. If they see that, they maybe put a fence on both ends. That way, a little fence.
No.
That way they say, hey, you're not allowed to come here. No, because if you're in the middle of the island, you can go up. But if you put a little fence in there, let's leave it that way. In case if that happens, I know he will deal with that.
And truly, people go in the median all the time to take photos, so
Yeah.
there's something to, you can't
Yeah.
stop them from risking whatever they're risking to do.
You know,
Yeah.
I think a really
Yeah.
good solution for that is we just put some more sculptures on the sidewalk so that they can just see them there.
Go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. I think, I was questioning the location of this after the last meeting because I think the sense is that they're going to be so cool, but like you can't get there and people are going to want to be close. And I understand this location was chosen. It needs to be part of this first phase of the project. But yeah, I was going to recommend that the second phase could include more. Because then
Desiree,
people
Carl?
can see like how it relates to them and then see it from afar. But I don't know if you control that or not.
Got to give the people what they want, right?
Any more comments?
I
Right.
I have a question, and this is for you, Catherine, since I haven't been able to see the previous presentations. Are these pieces, do they go through Creative Philadelphia? Are they part of the Percent for Art process?
My understanding is that these will be part of the city's collection. Yeah.
Is it,
So these were presented to Creative Philadelphia. But prior to submitting, we presented to Marguerite and Val. They were really enthusiastic and supportive of the piece. I don't know if Marguerite's still on the call, but yeah, it was really exciting to share that with them as well.
Okay, and also I just, when I saw the landscaping finish, I thought, it's absolutely beautiful and everything. Then I saw those pots show up and I was like, oh, those don't belong there. So those are just temporary, as these sculptures go in?
Those are literally the placeholders where the sculpture will go. Each one is where the pedestal is.
Yeah.
So, as a scale reference, you can kind of look at them and say, oh, that's where the sculpture is. The first one I moved, down to the sloped section so that I could actually fit the sculpture there.
And that figure is part of one of these larger pieces, right? You just installed that figure as a
Correct.
mock-up, yeah.
Yeah, and this
I'm
is
quite clear on that.
specifically, if you look at this slide,
Mhm.
the render has this actual figure in place where it's standing. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So when is phase two set to begin? Because building on what you were saying, and this is connecting back to what the last meeting was about, and also why I asked you, how did you film this? Was that the temptation to get close is real, and the culture of being in medians is real in Philly. And I think we need some deterrence in some way because and to protect the peace, but also pedestrians and so I have no notes about the sculpture itself. I'm mostly thinking about its context and user experience. And so when would this be installed if we approved it? And how soon does that occur with phase two is, I guess, my thought process here.
Good morning again. We're working on phase two. Phase two would be the sidewalks and what that looks like, and that would be more of a deterrent for people to cross into the street. So phase two will prevent the actual crossing of the street.
So you're in that phase right now?
We're in that phase right
Okay.
now. We partner with PennDOT. It is a state road, so we have to coordinate conversations with the city and the state to move on to the phase two. We're in that beginning portion of that right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful to know because I guess one thing I'm scanning for was just like, are there poles or are there something in parallel at where this sculpture would be installed that could give someone that sort of info, pedestrians primarily, that info where they are in meeting this? Because you've shown us a few times this experience of once you do cross a certain plane, you catch it and you're like, oh my gosh. So like at that moment would be the ideal place on the sidewalk to have something that gives them the information or satisfies that curiosity, I guess.
So we're going to have information about what's happening across, but those are the long-term plans for the whole AvArts 2.0. So this is not just a one-day meeting with us. This is going to be for the next few years of a whole, from Market all the way up to Washington.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, Dr. Matt is referring to this sculpture experience versus the whole one. So like on this street,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I'm talking about this sculpture at this part of the avenue. Is there a possibility of like poles or some sort of information kiosk like parallel to it on the street? I mean,
Yeah.
is that being thought about, I guess?
Yes, it has been thought about, like a QR code to scan, to even tell them that is what is coming. Once we get approval, we've talked about putting the QR code. We have planters on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Maybe doing like a temporary QR code paint, and so that you can see what it's going to look like. We've talked about that. So that's something we can continue to hear so you can see more.
Okay, yeah, and then if that's the plan or if that's possible, I'm wondering how soon, if this were approved, how soon would it be installed in parallel with phase two? Because if there's a big delay between installation of this and then phase two, we don't really get to, I guess, deter that sort of like behavior of crossing the street and all that other stuff that people might want to do. And I'm wondering, is there a way to maybe, I don't know if I want to say delay the installation, but just like how soon did you all plan to install this sculpture in line with phase two is my second question.
Great.
I want to step in here, if you don't mind. So timing wise, first of all, this sculpture is the icing on the cake. We've got to get this done. We've spent a lot of money already. We've dealt with all the elected officials, all the stakeholders on the avenue, all the regulatory agencies. We have built the pedestals for this, and everyone has seen this already. And it's going to probably take, Miguel, correct me if I'm wrong, about 10 weeks to fabricate and install.
We're looking towards a fall
It
installation.
would be a fall installation. We want to install this in the fall. People are going to be coming back to the city. The results so far from our ribbon cutting on June 24th are so encouraging. I mean, people are just going gaga over the median strip despite the graffiti. I mean, maybe that's a compliment to the median.
A Philly welcome.
It's a whole new day on the Avenue of the Arts. I think this is a vital component. As to the question for timing on identification of the sculpture, our plan right now, we've already met with streets and PennDOT officials. We have a concept plan for the sidewalks on both sides, east and west of the sculpture, the median. And the goal is to have our plans completed by spring, be ready to go with bidding out and contracting. So we're not talking years in the future. We're talking about the spring of 27 is when we want to start the construction of the sidewalk component. Remember the whole overall tree line boulevard. So we are getting just these giant green strips on both sides of the street and plantings and beautification. It will involve lighting, it will involve irrigation, signage. We've even met with Larry Maggot and the Music Alliance to detail where the plaques are going. It's pretty intricate. So in a perfect world, we would start in the spring and complete it by the end of the year. So
That's
what you're talking about is next year. It's not years in the future. It's
Okay.
next year if all goes well.
Yeah,
And
my
we
que-
we
go
would
ahead.
we would have identification. We would want to give Miguel credit. I think people are going to love it and they're going to want to know, well, what is it? Who did it? You know, when was it done? All that will be on probably a plaque, raised plaque. It probably will be on QR codes someplace, and wayfinding and signage is part of our plan. So this will all be integrated in, and we're thinking about that.
That was good.
Yeah, so thank you. The reason why I'm asking is that typically we do see those labels with sculptures, and this doesn't have that. And so my craving for information is probably going to be a lot like the experience of the users that were, or the, people who are encountering it. If all of this is part of phase two, that ideally would be in front of us to weigh with this piece, but if it's not, that's fine. It's just, I was asking about when this might be installed, and if it's part of phase two, then great. That the other components that we've been asking about could be, we'll expect that as part of the phase two that will come before us again, I
Sure,
guess.
we'll be back here as,
Yeah, no,
Desiree
they did say that,
mentioned.
the sidewalk will be phase two, we'll have to come back to.
we'll be back to you
Okay.
anyway. And if it does get delayed, then we'll go to a plan B and have some type of identification.
Okay.
And we don't want people walking out into the street and being in harm's way
Right, yeah.
to find, a label.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the content creators that are going to be wanting to go in this median to like, hey, so it's all in service of trying to make sure this is well taken care of and protected. I feel great about this. I think if we were moving forward with like approving with the conditions that there's identification on the sidewalk, and that there's some sort of maintenance plan or stewardship conservation plan, I think you mentioned earlier, is possible because of this bright color. We've already mentioned graffiti is happening on the median. So like just a way for us to know what plan would kick in to restore it if it were, damaged by something like that. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think by handling that was fast then. I think the graffiti, the maintenance part of the graffiti, especially on the sculpture, will be very important.
The
That's
Avenue
good.
of the Arts is in charge of maintenance, so
Okay.
we'll be on top of it.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any public comments?
We have no raised hands.
All right, so how can we do a final?
Oh, definitely, yes. I moved to do a final. I think that Dr. Matt added, making sure that there is enough information. If it's going to get delayed, that there's plans to provide information, the moment the sculpture comes up. And
Maybe even something temporary that isn't like the shiny plaque, but like, I don't know how.
We do have plans to do a temporary one. That's why I was talking about the planners. We have some planners there that we're going to put a QR code that temporarily show what's coming, because people are looking at the planters, like what belongs there. So we talked about adding more information now currently. So we're working on that.
That's nice. So that shows them the second phase too. So they're getting a little preview of what's coming, or no?
They'll give them the preview of the sculpture.
Yeah.
All right,
If
so
I
can
can,
I-
I can share with you a couple slides that show these locations, right? This is the view from the planters that I'm thinking that we're looking at, right? This is this like kind of cardinal viewpoint. Kimmel Center is right behind me from this. I'm actually standing on the sidewalk. So this is the pedestrian view. Now, if I go back to some of these renders, you can see that space, right over here. This is that pedestrian view from the Kimmel Center. So, this existing pole, we can have a aluminum printed QR code.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It's like,
We can do
where's a
that.
pole nearby
Yeah.
with a good view that you could just put something up? Thank you.
A couple planters too. There's a few planters here right now. We could put them on the side of that. I think like that's an easy one we can tackle. On the south side as well, I think there's in front of
There's definitely a
Via.
pole on the other side that we can
Yeah.
find.
Yeah, via a good spot for it.
All right, so can we have a motion with Dr. Matt?
I already moved
Okay,
that.
okay, so thank you.
So-
The second?
Something.
Thank you.
Yeah, second.
All right, so this is a roll call.
Okay, we have a motion for final approval of the Avenue of the Arts median sculptures with the clarification that there be identification of the sculpture on the sidewalk and that it will be installed temporarily if the phase two permanent signage is not installed at the same time. Commissioner Marnie? Approved. Commissioner Matthew?
Approved. Congrats.
Commissioner Choi?
I approve.
And Commissioner Roy?
Approved.
Commissioner Rebecca?
Approved. Congratulations.
Commissioner Carmen?
Approved.
And Commissioner Rayed?
Happily approved, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo!
Okay, next up, we have a concept review for the Bainbridge Green Plaza redesign.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lauren Leonard. I'm working for the Queen Village Neighborhood Association as a project manager on the reimagining of the Bainbridge Green Plaza, which is that median strip between 3rd and 5th on Bainbridge. This is Brian English. He is from Green City Works. He is the architect that gave the conceptual drawings that are part of the presentation. So we are here for conceptual review, so I think we will walk you through it. We are looking for your comments to make sure as we work towards construction drawings, we are detailing the right and proper things so that our L&I review process is as seamless as it can be. Where do you want
The next slide, or you?
Sure. Do you want to see here?
Sure. So this advances. Okay, good. So here's the project team. DCED provided the funding for this. Queen Village Neighbors Associated was the recipient. With Green City Works, which is really a part of University City District, we presented a conceptual design for community review. That's as far as we've taken the design process so far. Brigolage Management is the project manager, and Friends of Bainbridge Green are the stakeholders. So QBNA was recently awarded $366,000 from the state to renovate this park based on the conceptual drawings that we had provided. Bainbridge Green is located in the heart of Queen Village at a critical intersection between South Street and Fabric Row. And really what we've determined, this is an unusable space for the public. It's the sidewalks are unsafe. The soil is sterile. Trees are really struggling out there. Trees are really suffering. So we wanted to make it a space that is welcoming to neighbors, creates a safe place for people to spend time, and to improve the horticultural aspects of it, and to preserve the tree canopy. So here's the location running from 3rd through 5th Street. On the far left, you see a little end cap. That's not part of the concept here. It's really just that median running through between 3rd and 5th. The existing conditions, you can see sidewalk surfacing is not in great shape. You can see where the sidewalks are heaving completely. There's very little space that pedestrians can safely walk. And you can just see it's just an area that's just in disrepair. So our proposed design is really, as I mentioned, just kind of improve the streetscape, make it usable for visitors and for pedestrians. And you can see some of the concept here. So what we're proposing is we'd be removing some of the problematic trees, replacing them with a greater number of trees. There's some really great oaks and sequoia trees that are mature there. We'd want to kind of limb the canopy a little bit just to keep them from splitting apart and be able to keep them going, and also introduce some native shade trees and some understory trees to just inject new life into that canopy. The soil itself has no oxygen in it, no nutrients in it, to the point where weeds aren't even growing in certain areas. So really, we want to just sort of regenerate the health and preserve that canopy. We're proposing to remove the sidewalk on both sides where it is heaving, raise the curb up to what the proper elevation should be, and then creating like sort of a boardwalk strip that meanders throughout the center of the thing for pedestrians. It will be ADA accessible. We're not changing the footprint of anything, not changing the use of anything, really just kind of making it so that people can safely navigate through. There is some bollard lighting to illuminate the footpath, as you can see throughout. Where necessary, this boardwalk will, circle around trees and to be able to no interference with the existing canopy. We're proposing, a hardwood like Kumaru or something like that that's going to last for decades.
On flanking the boardwalk, it would just be softscape, native softscape. We don't have a planting plan or palette specifically to present, but it'd be just a combination of native grasses and perennials. And again, taking pedestrians away immediately from where the cars are pulling up and parking. They do nose up past the curb a little bit, so this kind of brings the foot traffic to the center. We have benches, picnic tables, planters, things like that proposed. But we haven't specified materials yet. These are the early suggested materials. These benches, there's no commitment towards this, but this is really just presented as part of the concept. The bollard lighting on the bottom right there would be for the pathway. And here is the community engagement timeline. So they originally talked to us in January 2023 about this. They've been meeting regularly with the neighborhood. Councilmember Squilla, Representative Isaacson, and Saval have all been on board with this. Squilla, I know, has been a very big supporter of this project and wants to see it get made. There's been numerous meetings, and maybe Lauren, maybe you could talk about more recent activity. Numerous meetings with the different stakeholders.
Sure. So I am also relatively new to the project. I live in Queen Village. I was a former Cubanate president, actually. So this project, I was out of the neighborhood for about 7 years. So this project has kind of come a long way. There have been multiple community meetings from January 2023. Our most recent meeting, was actually last Wednesday, which we shared these plans, just talked more conceptually about what was happening. There is broad neighborhood support for this. This strip has long kind of been an issue for neighbors. It does not work well for anyone. There's not really a way to walk down that strip. If you try, you are contending with the sidewalk and also cars. And as was mentioned, the way they can pull up now really encroaches on what would be for pedestrians. Again, there is broad community support. There is broad elected support. QB&A has been working with some of the neighbors in residential neighbors, but also some of the commercial neighbors. So there are additional plans for fundraising and engagement. There is a large development, which you probably know, an Altera development. They are very interested in this project. They understand that when they are open there, they are bringing a lot more residents to the neighborhood. So there's a real, I think, a real need for this space to accommodate pedestrians, both neighbors who live there and also guests who are visiting Fabric Row, also South Street, the other kind of commercial corridors that are intersecting in that area.
Commissioners?
Well, hello, I have a lot to say, so I'm sorry, but I'm really glad to see this project happening. I used to live nearby and actually tried to help. I don't know if we had come across each other. It was probably over 10 years ago now. But yeah, just really excited to see this getting funding and starting to happen. Okay, so in terms of sort of comments and recommendations, I think, keeping the shade from the trees really important, especially South Philly, really bad heat island, as in much of Philly, but just wanting to make sure that, you're maintaining the healthy trees and giving them the support, which I think you mentioned, but also looking at, any new trees, just making sure that they're getting the right soil volume, making sure that they have what they need to grow large, because that's what's so nice about it right now. I think getting rid of that fence is the most amazing thing. So that's great. And having that central walkway, I think looking at where shade is relative to where benches and seating are is important. It looked like from the rendering, sometimes it was like the benches are in the sun and the shade is over here. So just considering where that is. I wasn't sure from the renderings that was a boardwalk at first. So I think that will help a lot with the soil volumes. I'm curious what that detail is, like whether it's sitting on grade or suspended in some way.
It would be supported by at least the way we're thinking about it right now. It would be turned over to an architect to present the actual construction drawings, but be supported on piers almost like a deck would.
Okay. I don't know if you've priced that out yet, but there's a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
we have pricing from when this was originally submitted in 2023. That has changed. Some of these materials may not be viable for various reasons, cost being one of them. That 366 number is what we have for hard costs of constructions. The soft costs, my time, architectural time, engineering time are actually not in that budget. So we do benefit from, Cubine has some revenue as an organization. So we are able to devote all of that money, the 366 to construction. We know that it will not cover all of this. Our approach is to get to deal with the footprint so that furniture, fixtures, other things can be layered in at future phases if funding requires. So really what we want to focus on initially is the demo, getting the fence out, amending the soil, getting the pedestrian pathway in, and then building up around it if we need additional phases of funding.
Okay, should that deck become concrete, because I've seen that happen, again, just like making sure the trees have big enough tree pits, because some of them looked pretty tight to the large trees, and so this is a space that hopefully we can support the trees, which doesn't always happen, like for street trees, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Brian can speak to this more, but there will be a real focus on the trees.
Great.
There is no effort or intention or want to bring down anything that doesn't have to come down because of its health or condition. And we would be bringing in more appropriately sized trees. There's also, if you walk down there, you'll see there's some really interesting root things that have happened. There will be an effort to maintain what's there, obviously during construction and after. We're also having lots of conversations in the neighborhood about what does maintenance of this look like in concert with Parks and Rec, but also there's a pretty significant volunteer group that takes care of this space. They are limited and how many buckets of water they can carry, but there's been a lot of attention paid to maintaining the tree canopy, making sure that we're supporting what should stay forever, and then also anything that gets installed. There's really long-term thinking around making sure that it is suitable for the soil, for the neighborhood, and then also with respect to whatever that pathway is, making sure that root systems and trunks are protected going forward.
And the approach to the trees is really the only removal specified were some of the cherry trees that are suckering and really just kind of struggling, and they probably look as good now as they ever look. They're only going to go downhill. So by removal of them, that gives us a chance to get into the soil and kind of replenish the soil and regenerate it. The mature oaks, the mature saphoras, and there's few saphoras left in Philadelphia because as they grow wide, the snow splits them apart, and we're losing a lot of them. So we think by just kind of getting in there and pruning, we could extend the lifespan of these mature canopy trees. So we're talking about the removal of 9 cherries, and I believe it was 17 trees that we proposed putting in their place.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if budget allows, we'd like to see some air spading done too around some of the mature trees.
Great. I mean, I think seeing a plan of what is planned to be removed versus what is preserved would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have not engaged the architect of record at this point. Our expectation is they will be detailing that. We know from conversations with the city that the tree canopy will have to be spoken to. It's an additional review process. So we've already spoken to Parks and Rec about that. So we'll be very specific and detailed once that landscape architect is detailing those.
Great. Okay. Maybe 2 more things. For the bollard lighting, I assume there's other lighting around as well that is more high level. I know that in some places, if there's no other lighting and you just have bollard light, it's actually a little more dangerous because you can't see above like waist level.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that's being
There's
looked at.
existing street lighting.
Mhm.
There's also additional study required as we move into our construction documents at those pedestrian plazas, those kind of end caps. What is the lighting there? Does that need to be supplemented? We did not include them in the presentation because they're very conceptual. Is it string lights? Is it additional lighting? But the addition of lighting is to make it safer for pedestrians walking and also anyone who's using the space at any time of day. So we are sensitive to making sure that the lighting is actually functional in addition to being beautiful.
Okay, great. Yeah. Maybe that was it. I was wondering about having access to the middle walkway from where cars are parked. Just wondering, people may want to cut through at times? Are there little
There,
cut throughs?
there are currently cut-throughs, like between the fencing, there are a couple of cut-throughs. There's usually where there's utilities, there's some water access there. Those would be maintained. So I think the question is, if you get out of your car, how do you get around? There are cut-throughs that would remain. They do not align with the intersections necessarily, so that's not a place we would encourage you to cross the street, but it does allow you to get on that boardwalk and get to a proper intersection.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking people will do that
Yep.
over the plants. And so just thinking through the maintenance as well as giving access.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Okay. Okay, I
Thank
think
you.
that's all.
I have some questions, yeah. Sharing what Commissioner Marty said, I'm really excited, to see this, it looks very evocative, and when I walk home, if I walk home from like Old City, at night, I often walk down this block, usually on the south side, so it'd be really great to have another option for walking through the median. But my main concern is usually, in the details, maintenance, longevity, I want to make sure that the community gets a good investment out of this. Just as far as kind of following up on Commissioner Marty said, just on the location plan, a few of the crosswalks are shown, but I know a lot of the crosswalks are not shown. So just, encourage to show that so we understand what the pedestrian patterns are and where people can enter the, sorry, I got something on my screen. I don't know how to get rid of it. Oh dear. Okay. I'm not used to trackpads. So, showing that, especially like if we're able to cross at 4th Street, how do we cross at 4th Street? And, and knowing people will cross at 4th Street, even if they shouldn't, even if it's not approved by Streets Department. Is the fountain or font or whatever we call it at the end of 3rd Street, is that part of the scope as well, or?
It
Will that
is,
be
it is part
maintained?
of the footprint of the project. It is, I know from the Friends of Imagery, it is currently not working. There are some community efforts to try to get that working. Generally speaking, there is a water concern here about how can maintenance be provided. We have not considered irrigation. I don't think there is budget for that, but a robust watering plan will be part of our bidding process. My intention also, once there is a contractor on board, would can you check the fountain? What else can you fix that has been here forever that's just not working? So no changes to the fountain, but there is a desire to make sure that it is working.
And there's some kind of questionable planters next to them.
There are, we have talked about the questionable planters. There are some, as you can all imagine, there are some real neighborhood attachments to some of these fixtures. So part of the process as we work towards detail is finding those places where the architect and some of our professional consultants are making the best decision for the future of the project based on what we need to be in compliance with and where there are opportunities for neighbors to continue to participate in ways they've participated for many generations. So there are some questionable planters, and we will determine what is a replacement and what is still kind of a community access point.
And you mentioned the Indigo station will be relocated. Do you have a new location for that at this point in time?
Talking about moving it, I believe, to the 5th Street Plaza, just because there's more room for it there. I think also because of, Brian, please jump in about, because of the tree canopy, which you can see, there's already less of a canopy down there, and there's not a plan to break up that concrete to plant more. Whereas on 4th Street, we do have some more of that shade and some more opportunity for people to actually congregate in a more welcoming way. So we would propose that the Indigo station be just relocated to that other end cap.
And then the renderings, at least the ones I'm seeing, don't have indications of where we're seeing the view, so that would be helpful to indicate, where these views are.
Sure.
Another concern looking at some of the renderings, the path meanders a lot, and that's, of course, great for discovery and everything, but I also, concerned about the 90-degree angles that people just trample the plants, and thinking about, paths of least resistance, and also looks like some of the street furniture also makes you move, maybe a bit too much, and just in consideration of that. I also share concerns about the boardwalk. I think it's really an interesting palette, but I'm not quite sure how you intend to do that, and of the longevity. Do you have examples of where you've done that before that have stood the test of time as far as in a similar grade level application?
We don't specifically with those. We have some areas we've done with like Ipe tiles. We no longer want to use Ipe because just for sustainability issues. but we've seen projects where 20, 30 years later, the EPA looks great. This is the latest material we've discussed was Kumaru, which was supposed to give us the same lifespan, but further investigation needs to happen on this. We have, I think, the Ronald McDonald House, I have a green roof we did out of EPA tile out there, and it's 10 years later, and it looks fantastic. It looks, you know, it silvers a little bit in the sun. That's the limit of my experience, but we need to bring some other expert help for that.
A different application on a green roof than on a
Yeah,
street
I
surface.
want to not make this concrete.
Appreciate
So, and this notion of a boardwalk, I think is compelling just in the way people think about that and how you would maneuver and meander across it. But we do need to do more exploration into materials, both in terms of cost at this point, and also maintenance. There's questions. This area isn't truly a pedestrian pathway at the moment. So in terms of snow removal, salt, all of that, it's not truly a consideration because for so many years, it hasn't really been a viable pedestrian path. What we're proposing opens it up and invites pedestrians. So again, there's different considerations as it relates to what materials go down and how are they maintained properly.
There's one slide image, it might be of like an end area, a pavement area. That one, yeah. Which seems like there's a lot missing there. Maybe I'm sure there's good reason for that, but it just looks not very as inviting. And as far as the white starkness of it, and maybe maybe try to get some more consideration of what could be done there.
These are conceptual, and Brian, please jump in again, but I think some of this is to show possibilities of what could be here. This, for instance, the bench around the tree. This one looks particularly bare, I think is what you're referring to. They are not this bare now, and we are not proposing that they would be going forward. Again, there's still a lot to determine in terms of what fixtures are we buying, again, as it relates to what are the approved specs that we need to follow with Parks and Recs, and where do we have some opportunity to create some other types of interventions. I think we would probably not have a singular planter like this in a final design. Also, again, there's traffic considerations here as well. So some of this effort is to make sure that when you're on these end caps, you feel like you are kind of safely ensconced and can sit and enjoy your time without some of the concerns of where is the car. So I would say that this slide, this rendering in particular, it would be more filled in. Again, there are budget constraints which we anticipate where there may be some phases of, yes, it is so far more bare than we would like it to be. Phase 2, 3, et cetera, would contemplate additional interventions.
And these were really provided, these slides were provided for fundraising purposes and for community engagement purposes. There's a lot of blanks to fill in. And I think that's what we're right in front of you today to really kind of just make sure that we're pointed in the right direction. Thanks for turning it over to the architect.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to understand what it is that we are approving, because it sounds like, there is a lot to be, further developed in terms of the architectural design. So I think, in your summary, you specify that you're seeking approval to renovate the Pocket Park between 3rd and 5th and to improve the streetscape and public experience established in the park, but not necessarily about all of the specifics that are in this design. So, we're only would approve a concept to come back and do a more complete, specific, design of the project and stronger details on the budget and what is possible and not possible.
Yeah, I'm glad this space is being remodeled because I used to park there. Talking about parking, are they gonna remove some parkings or they're gonna stay? Why not? To make it better.
Because that is a neighborhood fight.
I know.
Very hard to have. So the number of spaces will not change. We would potentially line them, which creates some additional sort of structure and organization down there, but there are no spaces lost with this project. Really, the footprint does not change. It just opens up this middle so that it is safe and welcoming pedestrian space. We would put in or advocate for putting in the sort of bumpers that stop the cars. Okay. Because again, as if you walk down here and you saw in the photos, it's kind of a free for all where you sort of stop based on the undercarriage of your car, I suppose. But it does not impact parking. There would potentially be an impact during construction. A lot of this could be contained to the construction site, but we do anticipate there would be some implications to parking throughout the course of construction.
Okay, so when you come back, will you tell us what type of trees are you gonna be planting? Because we don't wanna see that along 10 years from now, everything is the same. Sidewalks are up and people cannot walk. They're gonna be tripping and all that kind of things. So it looks great. I'm still concerned, but because it could be concrete, you're saying, if
I think we will make every effort for it not to be concrete. I'm not sure that concrete is ultimately much less expensive, all said and done anyway. I think the care will be for creating the best pedestrian path that we can with as many landscape elements as possible within the given budget. But there is a real focus with this, the LSA dollars that we have now to get the pedestrian kind of boardwalk path done, because that is not something that has to be done first before anything else is infilled around it.
I'm glad that you guys have a friend of the park because our friends of the park, we work really hard to get money. And I think Queen Village we're our neighbors. Anyway, you guys will do a better job than us.
That our reluctance towards concrete or pavers for the walkway is really about the trees. It's almost impossible to get a good base in there, a solid base in there without causing damage to the mature canopy.
That's what I was asking. We do have some trees in our park that they don't grow crazy and give nice shade, and we have benches around it. So it's Hawthorne Park. So take a look if you wanna. But overall, looks good. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, just a clarifying question. So if we give concept approval, similar to what Commissioner Carmen was mentioning, because it looks like you haven't fully assembled the team that's working through this entire project, if we give concept approval, by the time you all will come back for final, would that person have been identified and
They will,
more
absolutely.
detail would have been? Okay.
Yeah, so we end of this week is my due date for architects and landscape architects to say that they want to bid on the work.
Oh.
Their scope would be to take these conceptual designs and make them into, I'm going to try to skip the schematic phase just for purposes of schedule, but to get us construction drawings. So to take this and actually detail what the wood would be, detail the tree canopy, start talking about the grasses and flowering plants and things, lighting, all of that would get very detailed. That would come back to you. Those will be the drawings that we would submit to the city for our actual building permits. We would use them to bid. So we are anticipating a pretty high level of detail on those drawings.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it also would probably help to get a good bid to have concept approval. So,
Yeah. All right. Any more comments?
Just to reiterate, I think any inside right angles on your path, I think should be, what do you call it? Filled in or so that they're not hard angles.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
Any public comments?
We have no raised hands.
All right. So can we have a motion for conceptual approval?
Motion to approve.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, we have a motion for concept approval. The motion was made by Marnie and seconded by Carmen. The notes that I have, we have requested to see more developed construction documents following the full design team coming on board, which should include detailed planting palette, full details on the installation method for the pathway, more details on the pedestrian circulation, and more details on the proposed lighting. Were there others that folks had? Okay. Commissioner Marnie, you made the motion.
Approved.
Okay. Commissioner Matthew,
Approved.
Commissioner Troy,
Approved.
Commissioner Roy,
Approved.
Commissioner Rebecca. Approved. Commissioner Carmen,
Timely project approved.
and Commissioner Rayed.
So I guess we have reached to the end of our agenda. As a reminder, we're going back to when I started it. No August meeting, take a recess. We went back to August because we were getting tons of project and we weren't able to, meet the time. Sometimes we used to leave around 2 o'clock. I guess that's the reason now we're not that busy. We're back to August recess. So no August meeting. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 9. Motion to conclude.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great summer.
Have a great summer, everybody.